Tiniola Adeyemi did not look dangerous. She was small, with soft brown eyes and a calm face. She wore a simple blue Ankara gown, flat shoes, and carried a brown handbag that had seen better days. Her hair was packed into a neat bun, and her ID card hung from her neck. If you saw her on the street in a cage that morning, you would think she was just another tired teacher going to work. But by the end of that day, an entire class of stubborn students would sit in silence, staring at her as if they did not know whether to fear her, respect her, or cry. And it all started outside JSS 2B. The noise coming from the classroom sounded like Oshidi Market. Desks scraped, chairs banged. Someone was beating a rhythm with a metal ruler on the window frame. There were shouts, laughter, and the thin, angry voice of a girl. "Femi, stop pushing me now. Go and sit down, Amaka." "Who send you?" a boy's voice replied. Another boy added, "A beg jor, today nah free period. No teacher can control us again." Someone whistled. A piece of chalk flew out through the open window and smashed on the corridor. Tiniola stopped in front of the classroom door and closed her eyes for a moment. She could smell chalk, dust, sweat, and something else, that hot, heavy smell of a class that had given up on listening. Her heart beat faster, not from fear, from memory. It felt like she had been here before. The sign above the door read, JSS 2B and no noise. Keep class clean. The students inside were doing the exact opposite. From a distance, two other teachers watched. One of them, a stout man with glasses, shook his head. "Let us see how long she lasts," he whispered to his colleague. "The last maths teacher did not reach 2 weeks. They will soon frustrate her," the other answered. "These children no send anybody again." Inside the classroom, Femi, the tallest boy in the room, grabbed the class dusters and threw them like footballs. A thin boy called Chinidu was standing on a chair, drawing something rude on the board. A group of girls at the back were watching TikTok videos, laughing so loud that even students in the next class could hear them. Nobody expected the new teacher to walk in at that moment. Nobody knew she was already at the door. Tiniola slowly opened it and stepped inside. The noise did not stop at once. It rolled and bounced around the walls, like a wave that had not yet seen the shore. Only 2 students near the front noticed her. A quiet girl with tiny braids, Bola, and a boy with round glasses, Mu'eyes, who sat close to the window. Bola's eyes widened. She tried to stand up to greet, but her voice disappeared in the chaos. Tiniola did not shout. She simply walked to the teacher's table, placed her handbag on it, and picked up a piece of chalk. Her flat shoes made a small tap sound on the floor, almost lost under the noise. She turned to the board and, in big, clear letters, wrote, "My name is Miss T. Adeyemi." No one cared. A paper plane flew past her ear. Someone in the back shouted, "Close the door before any teacher comes," and laughter followed. They had not even looked properly to see she was already in front of them. Femi grabbed a marker and scribbled under her name, "No teacher can control JSS 2B." A roar of approval came from the class. "Correct." "Not true." "She go still run." The sound soaked the room like rain. Tiniola looked at the sentence. She did not erase it. She turned slowly and faced them. Her eyes moved from desk to desk, face to face. Some were standing on chairs. Some were dancing. Some pretended she was invisible. Some looked at her with bold, challenging eyes. She did not blink. She did not look away. Instead, she did something nobody in that class expected. She leaned her back on the table, folded her arms, and said in a clear, calm voice that cut through the noise like a bell, "Femi John A. Kinwell, if you push a maka again, I will call your grandmother Najij and repeat the exact thing she told you last week when you stole 500 naira from her purse." The class froze. The noise died so fast it felt like someone pressed a mute button. Femi's hands dropped from where he had been dragging a desk. His face went pale. How do you know my name?" he stammered. "And my grandma? How?" Every eye in the room turned from Femi to the new teacher. The bold students were suddenly quiet. The girls at the back stopped their video and stared. Amaka slowly sat down. Even the ceiling fan seemed to spin more softly. Tiniola didn't move from where she stood. Her voice was still calm. "I know more than your name," she said. "And today, JSS 2B, you will learn that you are not as invisible as you think." Femi swallowed hard, his bravado cracking for the first time. Who are you?" he whispered. Tiniola's lips curved into the smallest smile. But before she could answer, someone knocked loudly on the classroom door. 3 sharp knocks. Every student jumped. The door swung wider, and the principal himself, Mr. Dinladi, stepped in with a frown, his eyes moving quickly from the silent students to the words on the board, to the new teacher standing calmly with folded arms. He stared at her. She stared back. "Miss Adeyemi," he said slowly, "what exactly is going on here?" The students held their breath, because if she answered the wrong way, everything could change. And they had no idea which side of change she was standing on. Earlier that morning, before anyone in JSS 2B knew her name, Lagos had been busy, noisy, and hot. Tiniola sat in the staff bus, hands clasped in her lap, as they drove through the streets of Ikeja towards Blessed Rock Secondary School. Hawkers knocked on the window, selling gala and bottled water. Okadas weaved between buses. A loud preacher shouted into a microphone at the junction. Inside the bus, teachers chatted about school fees, WAC results, and the new term. "Have you heard?" a woman in a yellow blouse said. Her name was Mrs. Aluko, the home economics teacher. They finally found a replacement for Mr. James. That man just left without notice. Imagine, because of one stubborn class. "Which class?" another teacher asked, shifting his laptop bag. "JSS 2B, of course," she replied. "Those children are something else. Very stubborn, very rude. They almost gave him high blood pressure." Tiniola looked out the window, her face calm but her ears sharp. "Is it that bad?" she asked gently. The teachers turned to her. She was new, and some of them had only met her briefly during the staff meeting the previous day. "Are you not the new mathematics teacher?" the man with the laptop bag asked. "Yes, my name is Miss Adeyemi," she answered. "I was told I would handle some junior classes." They exchanged glances. Mrs. Aluko said carefully. "The principal did not tell you?" "Tell me what?" Tiniola replied, her voice still soft. "You'll be taking JSS 2B. The man said. They are, how do I say it, special." Some teachers laughed in a sad way. "Special how?" Tiniola asked. "They made 3 teachers cry last term," one woman at the back added. "They locked teachers outside. They changed answers in the register. One boy even recorded a teacher with his phone and put it on TikTok. They scatter class," another added. "They don't respect anyone. Their parents complain, but when we call PDA, half of the parents don't even show up. Very stubborn children." "And the principal?" Tiniola asked. "What does he do?" "The principal is trying," the man with the laptop said. "But, when a class is already spoiled," he shrugged. "Sometimes you just manage them till WAC." The bus became noisy again with complaints and stories. But in the middle of it, Tiniola was quiet. Her mind was far away, in another classroom, in another time. A long time ago, she had sat at the back of a class just like that, angry, loud, and sure that no teacher could control her. A small smile touched her lips. Not a happy smile, more like a memory she did not fully want to touch. "Miss Adeyemi?" the man called. She blinked and looked at him. "Yes, sir." "You're not afraid?" he asked, half teasing, half serious. "Of children?" she asked. "No, children are not the problem." "What is the problem, then?" Mrs. Aluko asked. Tiniola looked out at the busy road again. "The stories inside their hearts," she said quietly. "That is what makes them act like this." The others fell silent for a second. They did not fully understand her. They just hoped she would last more than 2 weeks. When they reached the school compound, students were already moving around, wearing blue and white uniforms, holding notebooks, laughing, arguing. The bell rang loudly from the bell stand near the assembly ground. "First day of the term," someone sighed. "May God help us." The teachers got down, adjusted their clothes and bags, and walked towards the staff room. As they entered, the principal, Mr. Dinladi, stood at the front, a tall man with a serious face and kind eyes that looked tired. "Good morning, staff," he said. "Good morning, sir," they chorused. "We have a lot to do this term," he began. "Our WAC results must improve. Our discipline must improve. And—" His eyes moved towards Adelola, standing quietly near the back. "We have new members joining us." He introduced her to staff, then later called her into his office. It was a small room with bookshelves, a desk, and a large framed picture of the school gate on the wall. A fan turned slowly above them. "Sit down, Miss Adeyemi," he said. "Thank you, sir," she replied. He looked at her file. "You have experience from other schools." "Yes, sir," she said. "I taught mathematics in Mushin and later in a private school in Suralere." "And now you want to work here?" he asked, a bit curious. "Our salary is not as high as some private schools." She smiled lightly. "I am not here for salary alone, sir." He studied her face. "You are young," he said. "You still have energy. That is good. But I will be honest with you. One of the classes you will handle is JSS 2B. They have a reputation." "I heard some things in the staff bus," she said. "Let me tell you the rest," he replied with a heavy sigh. "We have punished. We have suspended. We have called parents. Some parents are trying. Some are not. But the class believes they can break any teacher. They believe no one can control them." He leaned back in his chair. "If at any time it becomes too much, let me know," he said kindly. "I don't want you to feel trapped." Adelola looked straight into his eyes for the first time. "Sir," she said softly, "when I was in JSS 2, I was worse than them." He blinked. "Worse?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she said. "But one teacher saw me. She did not just punish me. She listened, and that changed everything." He frowned slightly, trying to imagine the calm, neat woman in front of him as a stubborn student. "You think you can handle them?" he asked. "I think," she answered. "They are not as strong as they pretend. Underneath all that noise, they are just children who have not been heard." He nodded slowly. "All right," he said finally. "Today's timetable has your first period with them after break." She took the timetable with a small bow. "Thank you, sir." As she turned to leave, he called her again. "Miss Adeyemi?" "Yes, sir." "I am on your side," he said. "If they cross the line, do not be afraid to report them. Sometimes kindness needs a little bit of firm hand beside it." Her lips curved. "I understand, sir." Break time came. Students rushed around the school like a river that broke its banks. Sellers at the canteen shouted prices of buns, meat pie, and pure water. Some boys played football in the dusty field. Girls formed small circles under the trees to gist. In a corner of the school compound, the kings of JSS 2B gathered. Femi stood in the center, tall and broad-shouldered for his age, his shirt half out his trousers, tie hanging loose. On his wrist was a fake gold wristwatch he wore like it was real. Beside him sat son Cammy, with a sharp face and always ready smile that could be friendly or dangerous, depending on how he used it. He was the one who brought new slang and TikTok trends to class. Near them, Amaka leaned on the wall, arms folded, pretending not to care but listening to every word. She had a sharp tongue and quick temper, and no one dared insult her directly. Chinedu, thin and restless, moved around them, making jokes, drawing funny cartoons of teachers in his notebook. "Have you seen the new teacher?" Chinedu asked. "I heard she is small like SS1 student." "Small or not," Femi boasted, "we will show her that no teacher controls 2B. This is our class." Son Cammy grinned. "We will test her," he said. "If she cries, we put her on TikTok. New teacher challenge." Amaka rolled her eyes. "You people and your TikTok," she said. "Last time, my mother almost seized my phone because of that nonsense video of Mr. James shouting." They laughed. "But it was funny, nah," Chinedu said. His head was shaking like Agama lizard. Femi brushed imaginary dust from his shirt. "Anybody that enters our class must respect us," he said. "We are not small children again." "True," son Cammy agreed. "We are big boys and girls now." None of them knew that on the other side of the compound, from the window of the staff room, Tiniola was watching them, not with anger, with careful eyes, like someone studying a puzzle. Her gaze rested on Femi a little longer, then on Amaka. Then she turned away and picked up her lesson plan. When the bell rang after break, JSS2B flowed into the classroom like always. They did not sit quietly. They played. They shouted. They talked about football, about a fight that almost happened in JSS1, about a new song that dropped. Nobody brought out a textbook. Someone wrote "free period" on the board. They were sure the new teacher would come, look confused, complain, maybe shout, maybe even cry, and then leave with headache. It was the way things normally went. But that day, as you already saw, the door opened and Tiniola walked in quietly. The next few minutes were the loud ones you already know about. The noise, the chalk, the sentence on the board, the class believing no teacher could control them. Then came the moment when her voice cut through the noise, when she called Femi's full name, when she spoke about his grandmother and Ajij and the money he stole. That was the first crack, because inside Femi's chest, something small and scared woke up. He had never told anyone in school about that. Only his grandmother knew. How did this new teacher know? The whole class could feel that something heavy was now inside the room with them. Not police, not parents. Something different. Now, with the principal standing by the door, the weight in the classroom grew even heavier. "Miss Adeyemi," Principal Dinladi repeated. "What exactly is going on here?" The students waited. If she complained too much, they could all be punished. If she lied to cover them, they would know she was weak. If she exposed Femi's secret more, something in him might break completely. The whole room held its breath. Tiniola slowly unfolded her arms and straightened up. "Sir," she said, her voice as calm as before, "I was just about to begin my first lesson with JSS2B. The principal's eyebrows rose. "Like this?" he asked, looking at the scattered chairs, the chalk pieces on the floor and the sentence on the board. "An old teacher can control JSS2B. "Yes, sir," she answered. "I told them something surprising, and now they're listening to me." It was true. Every eye was still on her. "Is that so?" he asked, turning to the students. "Is anyone disturbing her?" Nobody spoke. The bold ones looked away. The usual class clown, Chinidu, suddenly found the crack on his desk very interesting. The principal said. "Well, Miss Adeyemi, if there is any problem, come to my office." "Yes, sir," she replied. He gave the class one long, slow look, the kind that said, "I am watching you," then turned and left, closing the door behind him. As soon as the door clicked shut, all eyes returned to Tiniola. She walked to the board. With one easy movement, she wiped away. No teacher can control JSS2B. The class watched. Then she wrote, "Who told you that lie?" Some students bit their lips to stop themselves from smiling. "Bring out your mathematics notebook," she said simply. Today's topic is not only about numbers. It is also about the stories you tell yourselves. Nobody moved at first. Then Bola quietly brought out her book. Mueyes followed, one by one, like people testing cold water with their toes. The other students slowly reached into their bags and took out notebooks too. Only Femi remained still, his heart still beating fast. He had a question burning inside him, and finally, he could not hold it. "Miss," he blurted out, breaking the silence, "how did you know my name and my grandmother and the money?" Every head lifted. The room tensed again. This was the second test. If she answered badly, they would turn on her again. If she answered well, something deeper would shift. Tiniola put the chalk down. Her eyes met his fully now. "I know," she said softly, "because I knew someone like you before. Someone who thought making trouble would hide his pain." Femi frowned, confused. "What pain?" he asked, his voice a mix of anger and fear. Tiniola took a small breath. She had a choice to make, to keep the wall between them, or to share a piece of herself. Slowly, she walked away from the board and came to stand between the front rows. "When I was your age," she began, "I used to steal too." A shock moved through the class like a wave. The new teacher? Steal? She nodded, as if she could hear their thoughts. "I stole money. I stole biscuits. I stole people's time with my noise. I made teachers cry. I made my mother cry. I thought I was strong, but really, I was just angry. The room was quiet. Even the fans seemed to be listening. And one day, she continued, a teacher called my name in class the way I called yours, Femi. She said things about me that nobody else knew. I was so scared I could not talk. I thought she was going to disgrace me. Her eyes grew distant, remembering. But she did something else instead. Adelola said. She sat beside me in front of the whole class and asked me the question no one had ever asked. Femi swallowed. What question? He whispered. The whole class leaned forward. Adelola's voice dropped very low, but somehow every student could hear her. She asked. Adelola said slowly, "Who hurt you first?" The words landed in the room, like stones dropping into deep water. They did not understand everything, but they felt it. Femi looked as if someone had pulled a mask off his face. For a second, his eyes looked like a small boy's eyes, not the strong leader JSS2B. He opened his mouth to speak, and at that very moment, a loud crashing sound came from the corridor. Something hit the classroom window hard. Glass rattled. The students screamed. Adelola turned sharply. Outside, near the window, 2 SS3 boys were fighting, pushing and shouting. One had thrown a metal locker key that bounced off the window and clattered to the floor. "Leave me, you this stupid boy," one shouted. "You are mad. You will see today," the other replied. The noise grew quickly as students gathered to watch. Before anyone could move, the classroom door flew open again, this time without knocking. The principal stormed back in, face dark. "JSS2B, stay inside," he ordered. "Nobody should come out." He turned to Adelola. "Miss Adeyemi, I need you immediately. These senior boys are about to cause serious trouble. I cannot handle this alone." The class gasped. The SS3 boys fighting were known in the school. They were bigger, older, and more dangerous than anyone in JSS2B. And now the principal was calling their new teacher to come and confront them on her very first day. Adelola's eyes moved from the principal to her class to Femi's scared face. She picked up her handbag slowly. "Class," she said quietly, "nobody should leave this room. We are not done." Then she followed the principal out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. The students rushed to the windows, trying to see the fight. "Chai!" Chinedu whispered. "They want her to face SS3 boys." "Those boys no respect principal Esif," Sun Kami added, eyes wide. "How will she handle them?" Femi did not move to the window. He sat at his desk, heart racing. In his mind, he heard her question echo over and over. "Who hurt you first?" Outside, shouts rose higher. A crowd formed around the fighting boys. And somewhere in the center of that circle, the new teacher, the one they thought they could break, was now stepping forward, about to face the most feared students in the whole school. On her first day, while her own stubborn class waited behind a closed door, wondering, would those senior boys laugh at her? Would they push her aside? Would she walk away? Or was JSS2B about to learn that they were not the only ones who thought no teacher could control them? Until she walked in, the circle around the SS3 boys looked like a small riot. Students from different classes stood on benches and blocks, shouting and clapping. Dust rose from the ground as the two big boys pushed each other again and again. One of them, Toby, was tall and broad, with a hard face and clenched fists. The other, Sei, had sharp eyes and a cut on his lip, where Toby had already hit him. "You are a thief," Sei shouted. "You took my physics note." "You're lying," Toby yelled back. "Say that again and see what I'll do." They shoved each other, ready to fight for real. Some younger students begged them to stop. Most were just enjoying the show. Inside, JSS2B, faces pressed against the window glass. "Ha! It's Toby and Sei," Chinita said. "These boys no day fear anybody, oh." "Even principal, they argue with him," Sun Kami added. "See the new teacher," Bola whispered. Outside, Adelola stood beside Principal Dinladi. He was shouting, "Stop this now! Both of you! Stop it!" But his voice hardly reached them. The crowd was loud. The boys were angry. The fight was bigger than his words. Then he looked at Tiniola, his voice low. Miss Adeyemi, I am sorry to pull you into this, but they respect no one. If we don't stop them now, others will join. It will scatter the whole school. Tiniola looked at the boys. Anger, pride, pain, all mixed. She did not shout. She took a step forward. Then another, slow, steady steps into the circle. Some students gasped. Ani, don't go near them, someone cried. Toby pushed Say again, but then he saw someone stand between them. A small woman in a blue ochre gown. They both stopped for half a second, shocked that anyone dared to move so close. Tiniola lifted her head and looked up at them. Her voice was calm, but it carried like a bell. Toby Adecunnel, she said, if you hit him again, you will be the one to suffer most. Not because of school punishment, but because your mother in Adjugunnel is praying every night that you will not end up like your uncle in prison. The crowd went silent. Somebody muttered, Aha! How she take know that one? Toby's hands dropped a little. His eyes widened. How? How do you know my uncle? He whispered. She turned to Say next. And you, she said. Say, the same boy who promised his little sister he would be the first graduate in the family. Is this how graduates behave? Fighting like motor park tout in front of small children. Say blinked, breathing hard. His fists loosened. Who told you about my sister? He asked, confused. The crowd shifted. People started to step back, unsure now. This did not feel like a normal fight again. Principal Dunladi stared at her, surprised. You are both angry, Tiniola said. I understand, but you are also both afraid. Afraid of being disrespected. Afraid of looking weak. Afraid people will think they can cheat you. Her eyes moved between them. But hear me, real strength is not in how hard you punch. It is in how fast you can step back when your future is in danger. The air seemed to hold its breath. Far away, a bird chirped on the school fence. You too, she said quietly, have more people watching you than you think. Little brothers, little sisters. Even JSS2 students are looking at you and deciding who they want to be. She pointed toward the JSS2B window. Many eyes quickly ducked down. Toby swallowed. Sweat rolled down his face. His chest rose and fell. Say looked away, jaw tight. What note did he steal? She asked Say. My physics note, Say muttered. I saw it with him yesterday. Today, he says he does not know where it is. Tiniola turned to Toby. Did you take the note? Toby opened his mouth to lie. Then he saw her eyes. They were not angry. They were sad, tired, like someone who had seen the same story many times. His shoulder dropped. I took it, he admitted in a low voice. But I only wanted a copy. I wanted to return it before closing. So why didn't you return it? She asked. He looked down at his shoes. I forgot, he whispered. Because you were busy forming big boy for your friends? She asked softly. A small laugh broke from somewhere in the crowd, then died quickly. Say's face burned. You should have told me now, he snapped. Why are you pretending? I don't want him to think I am dull, Toby shot back. He is always first in class. And you think fighting will make you smarter? Tiniola asked. Silence. Both of you, she said. Shake hands. They stared at her like she had spoken Chinese. Shake what? Say asked. Hands, she repeated. Now. They hesitated. Students shifted. Some rolled their eyes. Some smirked, waiting to see who would refuse. She did not shout. She did not move. She just waited. Slowly, Say lifted his right hand. Toby looked at it for a long second. Then he raised his own. Their palms met. Fingers closed. Not friendly yet, but not fighting anymore. Good, she said. Now, all of you, she looked around at the crowd, go back to your classes. This show is over. A few students hesitated. Principal Dunladi added, You heard her. Back to class now. The weight in his voice pushed them faster. The circle broke. Murmurs rose. Who is that teacher? How she know their family like that? See as Toby obey her. From the window, JSS2B watched everything. Bola's mouth was open. She just stopped them, she whispered. Those boys. Chinedu shook his head. I don't understand. Amaka hugged herself. She even knows their family, she said, just like she knew about Femi's grandma. Femi sat in his seat, stomach turning. It was as if this woman moved through the school, carrying secrets. Secrets, and something that felt like light. Later, in the principal's office, the air was quieter. Toby and Say sat on 2 chairs, looking smaller now. Their shirts were dusty. Their anger had melted into shame. Principal Dinladi sat behind his desk, fingers linked. Tiniola sat on another chair, hands resting calmly in her lap. I should suspend both of you, the principal said. You are SS3 students. You should be preparing for WAC, not fighting like children. Sorry, sir, they both muttered. He sighed. But, he added, it seems God has decided to surprise me today, because I just watched something I have not seen in this school for a long time. He nodded towards Tiniola. 2 boys who fear no teacher listened. They glanced at her, then away. Miss Adeyemi, he said, how did you know about their families? She smiled a little. Sir, before I accept any teaching job, she said, I always visit the area around the school. Churches, mosques, markets. I ask people about their children. I pay attention. She looked at Toby. Your mother sells tomatoes and pepper near my house in the evening, she said gently. She talks about you with fear and love mixed. She told me about your uncle in prison and how she does not want you to follow that path. Toby's eyes filled with surprise. My mother talked to you? He asked. She did not know I would be your teacher, Tiniola replied. She just needed someone to listen. She turned to Say, and your sister, she said. She comes for my free weekend lesson at the community hall. She always says, my brother is very brilliant. He will be the first graduate in our house. Say's throat tightened. He blinked fast. I did not know, he began, voice shaking. I did not know she talked about me like that. You see, the principal said softly, you think you are just playing, but people are watching. People are hoping. He leaned back. I will not suspend you, he decided, but you will both write a full apology letter, one to each other, one to your parents, and one to JSS 2B, because you scared them with your fight. Our own class. Toby frowned. Why them? Because, the principal said, you taught them that violence is big. Miss Adeyemi is trying to teach them something else. You will not scatter it. They looked at each other and nodded slowly. Yes, sir, they said. And from today, the principal added, if I hear any report of fight from either of you, the next punishment will be bigger. Yes, sir. He dismissed them. When they left, he turned to Tiniola. I did not know you already knew so much about our students, he said. I don't know everything, she answered, but I try to see more than their noise. He studied her for a moment. Do you think, he asked carefully, you can do the same thing with JSS 2B? She smiled a little. They think they are strong, she said, but they're like these boys, only louder. If anyone can change that class, he said, maybe it is you. Sir, she replied, I don't want to just change them. I want them to change themselves. He nodded, not fully sure how that would happen, but hoping. Your period with them is still on, he reminded her. I know, she said, standing. They are waiting for me. JSS 2B was not just waiting. They were buzzing. As soon as she closed the door earlier, half the class had run to windows. Now they rushed back to their seats when they heard her footsteps. Everybody, sit down. Amaka hissed. Arrange your desk. Bola whispered. Femi just sat still, his heart pounding. The door opened. Tiniola stepped in. She looked a little dusty from the fight area, but her eyes were the same calm brown. Nobody spoke. She closed the door gently and walked to the front. Her handbag went on the table. The chalk went into her fingers. She turned to the board. The words, "Who told you that lie?" still shone faintly. Underneath, she drew a quiet line. Then she wrote, "Today is a new story." She faced them. "I told you we were not done," she said. No one dare make noise. She let the silence sit for a few seconds. "First," she said, "I want to answer your question, Femi." He stiffened. The whole class turned to look at him. "How I knew about your grandmother," she continued. His fingers gripped his pen tight. "My church," she said, "has a feeding program in Ajij on Saturdays for old people. We cook food, we sing, we listen. Your grandmother comes almost every week." Some students nodded, surprised. "Last month," she went on, "she talked about a boy, tall, strong, sometimes stubborn. She said she was worried because he started taking small money from her purse when he thought she was not looking. She cried that day." Femi's head dropped slowly. He remembered the day she had shouted at him. He remembered the shame. "I did not know that boy was you at first," Tiniola said. "She never mentioned your school, only your name." She smiled gently. "But when I came here and saw you on the student list, and then heard your full name, I knew." A heavy quiet filled the room. "People talk about you," she said softly. "Not only your bad behavior, also your good parts." Femi looked up a little, eyes wet. My good parts?" he asked, voice small. "Your grandmother said," Tiniola replied, "that you always carry her heavy water bucket without complaining, that you protect younger children on your street, that you share your food when others have none." The class shifted. They had never heard this side of Femi before. He swallowed hard. His chest felt tight. "So no," she added, "you are not only a thief. You are also a boy with kindness. But you are fighting something inside yourself. That is why I asked you." She wrote again on the board, under everything else, "Who hurt you first?" She faced the class. "This question is not just for Femi," she said. "It is for all of you. The way you talk, the way you shout, the way you roll your eyes, the way you call teachers' names. These are not just jokes. They are signs of something inside." She took a deep breath. "I will tell you my own," she said quietly. "Then you will know I am not just talking to make you feel bad." She leaned lightly on the table. "When I was 8, she began, my father left home. He did not say goodbye. He did not leave a note. He just stopped coming back." The room was still. "My mother cried every night," she said. "We had no money, no help. I felt small and angry. I thought, if my father does not care about us, why should I care about anybody?" Her eyes softened with the memory. "So in school, I became trouble," she said. "I talked when teachers taught. I insulted people. I stole meat from the pot. I broke chairs. I laughed when other people cried. I thought if I made enough noise, I would not hear my own pain." Some students looked down. The words were creeping into their own hearts. "One day," she continued, "a teacher called me out in front of everyone, just like I called Femi. I thought she would disgrace me. But she sat beside me and asked, 'Who hurt you first?'" She looked slowly around the room. "I cried that day," she said simply, "in front of everybody. I told her about my father. I told her about my mother crying. That teacher did not punish me. She did not tell me I was a bad child. She said, 'Tenny, your pain is real, but you must not use it to hurt others.'" Her voice grew firm. "That day, I decided I would grow up and be that kind of teacher, the kind who sees pain, not only noise." She straightened up. "So now," she said, "I am asking JSS2B, who will be brave enough to answer that question?" Nobody moved. The fan hummed. A car horn sounded faintly from the road outside. Then, to everyone's shock, Amaka raised her hand. Her chin trembled a little. "Yes, Amaka?" Tiniola said softly. The class watched. My father," Amaka began, voice shaky. "He is always shouting at my mother. Every day, morning, night, he calls her names. He says we are all useless. When I try to talk, he tells me to shut up. Sometimes he slaps me. So when people talk to me anyhow, I feel like I must shout too, so they will not think I am weak like my mother." Her voice broke on the last word. Tiniola walked toward her desk and rested her hand gently on the edge. "Thank you," she said. "You are not your father's anger. Amaka, you are allowed to choose another way." Amaka wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. But something in her shoulders had changed. She looked a little lighter, a little less hard. Then Mu-Eyes slowly raised his hand. "My own," he started, then stopped, swallowing. "My brothers always call me Oversabi because I like reading. They beat me if I don't do their chores before reading. So in class, I act like I don't care about anything, because if they find out I like school too much, they will laugh at me." A tiny smile touched Tiniola's lips. "You are not Oversabi," she said. "You are smart, and you deserve a safe place to like what you like." A few more hands rose. Stories came out in pieces. A sick mother, a father who drank too much, an older sister who bullied younger ones at home, a crowded house where nobody listened. Tiniola did not rush them. She listened. Sometimes she said only, "Thank you." Sometimes she said, "That must hurt." Sometimes she just nodded, eyes soft. Finally, every voice quieted. Only one person had not spoken. Femi. He sat straight, jaw clenched, staring at the board. "Femi," she said gently, "will you answer too?" The class turned. He opened his mouth, then shut it. He wanted to keep his wall, to stay strong. But when he looked up and saw the faces around him, something surprised him. They were not laughing at the others. They were not mocking their pain. They looked human, like him. Slowly he stood. His legs felt like sticks. "My father," he said, voice low at first. "My father left too, like Ani's own. He went to Port Harcourt for work. At first he used to call. Then calls stopped. My mother worked. When I asked about him, she would just say, 'He is busy.' But one day I heard her on the phone, begging him to send any money. He cut the call. His hand tightened on the desk. 'That day,' he whispered, 'I decided I would never be the one begging. I would be the strong one. I would control things. If a teacher shouted at me, I shouted louder. If someone pushed me, I pushed twice. I thought if I acted like a boss, I would never feel small like my mother again.'" His voice shook. "So when I stole from my grandma," he continued, tears now running down his face, "I told myself it was nothing, that I deserved that money. But when she cried that day, something broke in me. I don't want to be like my father, but sometimes I feel like I am." The class was silent. Even the usual jokers had no joke. Tiniola's eyes shone. "You are not your father," she said, steady and clear. "You are Femi. You make your own choices. Stealing was wrong. Shouting at people is wrong. But you are not stuck." She looked at the whole class. "All of you," she said. "You are not stuck." She walked back to the front. "With all this pain," she continued, "you still have two roads. One, use it as an excuse to hurt others, disrespect teachers, destroy your future. Two, use it as a reason to become kinder, stronger, and more focused." She picked up the chalk again. "Under everything on the board," she wrote, "we will not use our pain to hurt others." Then she turned, eyes bright. "I am not here to fight you," she said. "I am here to walk with you. But I will not allow this class to continue like before. No more locking teachers outside. No more recording teachers for TikTok. No more bullying. I will listen to you, but you must also listen to me. Is that clear?" "Yes, Ma," some voices answered softly. "I said, is that clear?" she repeated, a little firmer. "Yes, Ma," they replied louder. She nodded. "From today," she said, "we are making a new agreement between you and me, between this class and this school." She drew a long line down the middle of the board. On the left, she wrote, "What Miss Adeyemi will do." On the right, she wrote, "What JSS 2B will do." "Tell me," she said, pointing to the left side, "what do you need from me as your teacher?" They stared at her, surprised. "No teacher has asked us that before," Chinita muttered. "Today is new," she replied. Slowly, hands rose. "Don't shout at us all the time," Bola said. "I will correct you firmly," she said, writing. "Listen without shouting all the time. But I will try not to shout when it is not needed. Don't insult us," Sun Kami added. I will not insult you, she agreed, writing it. Explain slowly, Moo Eyes requested. Some teachers rush. I will explain until you understand, she wrote. More hands went up. Don't compare us to other classes, Amaka said. They always say, JSS 2A is better than you. I will treat you as yourself, she said, not as 2A or 2C. She wrote it down. Then she tapped the right side of the board. Now, she said, what will JSS 2B do for me? They shuffled. Now the hard part. Come to class on time, Bola said. She wrote it. No noise when you enter, Moo Eyes added. She wrote. No more locking teachers outside, Chinidu said, scratching his head. She raised an eyebrow. You were the ones locking teachers outside? He laughed nervously. Sometimes, maybe. No more, she said, writing. No more wicked pranks. They added more. Respect teachers. No recording to embarrass anyone. Help classmates who don't understand. Clean the class properly. When they were done, the board was full. It looked like a wall of promises. She read everything out loud. They repeated some lines after her. Then she put down the chalk. This is our class contract, she said. We will not be perfect. We will make mistakes. But we will not go back to that lie that no teacher can control JSS 2B. It is not about control. It is about respect. She looked at Femi, then at Amaka, then at all of them. I will keep my side, she said. Will you keep yours? Yes, Ma, they answered. Say it, she said, like you mean it. Yes, Ma. Even the back row shouted now. At that moment, the door opened quietly. Principal Dinladi stood there. He had come to check, ready to step in if there was trouble. Instead, he saw something he had almost never seen in JSS 2B. Every student sitting. No one throwing paper. No one shouting. The board full of words that sounded like hope. He blinked. Good afternoon, class, he said slowly. Good afternoon, sir, they chorused. His eyes met Tiniola's. What is going on here? He asked, half teasing, half serious. Just mathematics, sir, she replied with a small smile, and a little bit of heart work. He chuckled softly. Well, he said, continue. I don't want to disturb you. He turned to leave. Sir, Femi's voice called from his seat. The principal paused. Yes. Femi stood up. Sir, he swallowed, courage shaking but not breaking. I wanted to say, I am sorry for how we used to behave, for the stress, for making teachers cry. The whole class looked at him. Even Tiniola looked surprised, just a little. The principal stared. He had waited years to hear words like that from this class. Thank you, Femi, he said quietly. I accept. Then something even more shocking happened. One by one, other students stood. Sorry, sir, said Bola. Sorry, sir, said Moo Eyes. Sorry, sir, said Chinidu, rubbing his neck. Sorry, sir, said Amaka, eyes shining. Soon, almost the whole class was on their feet. Sorry, sir, they repeated. It was not perfect. Some were shy. Some still smiled nervously. But it was real. Tiniola watched them, warmed in her chest. Principal Dinladi cleared his throat, fighting a small smile. Apology accepted, he said. Now, show me you mean it. Not just with words, but with your behavior. Yes, sir, they answered. He left, closing the door gently. The room felt fuller somehow, full of promises, full of something new. All right, Tiniola said softly after the door closed. Let us start real work now. She wrote the topic for the day at the top of the board. Fractions sharing better. Fractions again? Chinita groaned. I hate fractions. That is because, she said, nobody ever showed you that fractions are just another way of saying, how do we share well? Today, we will use your lives to learn maths. For the next 20 minutes, she explained. She used simple examples. If you have 1 meat pie and 4 friends, she wrote, how do you share so that nobody fights? Hand shot up. If your mother gives you 1,000 naira to buy food for 3 days, she added, how do you divide it so you don't end up hungry on day 3? They laughed. They argued. They suggested. She let them. Sometimes the class grew a bit louder, but it was a different kind of noise now. Not wild, not cruel, living noise. At one point, son Cammy tried to crack a rude joke about another student's house. Tiniola looked at him sharply, but with a tiny smile. "Remember our contract," she said. "We don't use our pain to hurt others. And we don't use maths period to scatter class." He grinned, hands up. "Sorry, Ma." They moved on. When the bell finally rang, a groan rose from some of them. Just when it was sweet," Bola said. "Don't worry," Tiniola replied. "We have many more days." She wiped the board slowly. Before she left, she wrote one last line at the top. JSS 2B, the class that chose a new story. She turned to them. "Think about that line," she said. "You used to be the class no teacher could control. But from today," she looked around, eyes bright, "you'll be the class that proved everyone wrong." As she moved toward the door, Femi called out softly, "Miss?" She stopped. "Yes." He swallowed. Can I talk to you after school? About my grandma, and my father, and maybe how to change." Her face softened. "Yes, Femi," she said. "I will be here." Amaka raised her hand, too. "Me too, Ma," she said quickly. "I want to know how not to shout all the time." "Me 3, Chinito added. "I need help to stop making stupid jokes." Laughter rolled through the room. This time, it felt warm, not sharp. Tiniola nodded. "My table will be open," she said. "One by one. I will listen." She stepped out into the corridor. Behind her, the class slowly packed their bags. They were still themselves. Still loud. Still full of energy. But something big and invisible had shifted. They were now a class with a teacher who knew their secrets and cared. A teacher who had walked into their world and refused to run away. For years, students and teachers in that school would tell the story. There was once a class called JSS 2B. Everyone said no teacher could control them until she walked in.